following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back, closing it out with Littell. Here's the country himself, Mark Littell. How are you, Mark?
Glad to be here, Ralph. There's a lot of things going in or getting ready to happen here in the next couple of weeks, I guess, and in baseball, and I guess we're just going to have to sit back and watch all this, how it pans out. So,
well, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to read us something from your upcoming book and give us another taste of some of your stories and what we have to look forward to?
Well, yeah. Let me see here. I have some interesting stories coming up in the third book, and I've got several actually. I'm going to start.
Rather than reading them, why don't you talk about the stories and what inspired you to write them itself?
Well, in this third book, it's called "What's Up, Ramrod?" with a question mark. And a lot of people they say, "What's Ramrod?" And I say, "Well, Ramrod. When you have a number on your back, you got to call people something other than 14 or 73 or 98. So what I did was I came up with Ramrod. And if I'm doing PFP, which is pitcher's fielding practice, over on field 5, that's a half field. And I've got 15 pitchers over there in a line off to the side. I got 2 first basemen, 2 catchers, and then I'm parked over there in front, and we're doing pitcher's fielding practice, either comebackers or first base, second base, whatever we're going to do. And I generally know about half those guys in that line. And the other half, they're new. So anyway, I'm sitting over there, and I hit a ball over the first base, and guy covers the bag right and does it right, and I say, "Hey, nice job, Ramrod." He goes back to the end of the line, and I start working my group again, but he goes back to the end of the line. 4 of the guys in the back of the line, they say, they're sitting there, and it's the newbie says, "Hey, did you hear what he said?" He said, "Oh, hey, nice job, Ramrod." And so now they start snickering, and they've got their arms crossed, their gloves on and stuff, and on the side of their hips or whatever. They're kind of relaxed, but they're moving with the line. And they say, "Oh, they're snickering. You know why he calls you Ramrod?" And they say, No, I don't know. He said, "Well, he don't know your fucking name." so I call everybody. So everybody goes around. I've always said it's got to name your book at least. Something's got to be mentioned Ramrod in it. So there you go. So that's the word. But the first chapter is going to be actually on a boot heel hanging, and it's a true story. And my Uncle Lyman, who was the dean of admissions in southeast Missouri, was an educated man, and he was told that he was going to go to a hanging with my great-grandfather and grandfather, who cornered him the day before, and says, "You're going to go to the hanging tomorrow." And he says, "Why do I got to go to the hanging?" He says, "Well, you're part of the community. You got to be, you got to go to this, And they were hard-working guys out there on the farm, and he was an educated man, but he was teaching high school at some little one-room high school at the time. Was married to my Aunt Agnes. So the interesting thing was he goes to the hanging, and he tells me about it. But he first asked, he said, "Well, why do we got to get there so early?" And my great-grandfather said, "So you can get a good seat, to watch the hanging." So anyway, they had 2 guys up there that were going to get hanged because the day on Christmas Eve, I guess these 2 guys broke into this gas station that was closing down, and they killed the attendant. And so he had 2 kids and a wife. And so they caught these 2 guys on the Mississippi River levee at the time. And so 1933, 1934, they have all the trial. In 1935, they're getting ready to hang them. And so he goes to the funeral. I mean, well, it is a funeral, pretty much. He goes to the hanging. Yeah. And so anyway, he's sitting there, and he's describing the hanging. And first guy that got up there actually, the hangman came all the way down from Chicago. The sheriff had been trained by him, but he kind of backed out and chickened out, I guess, the last 3 days. So this guy came down and had to do the hanging. He was the best hangman in the United States, I guess. So they put him up there, and they always asked him about what his last words were. And he said, "You got any last words?" And he said, this was a classic line, I thought. He said, "See you later, boys." I thought, man, what a classic. See you later, boys.
Okay with going out, accepted his fate and what have you?
I guess, just an old farmhand, it looked like to me. And then so they put the rope on his neck, and they had 13 knots in that rope. And I don't guess the hangman got it snug enough because it took him about 12, 15 minutes to strangle. And I said, "Well, what happened, Uncle Lime?" And he said, "Well, I didn't feel too good, so I just kind of sat down on my haunch on the grass." So he said, "No, it wasn't too good." I said, "Well, what happened with the second guy?" He said, "Well, they had to drag him up those steps because he was sitting there watching that." And I thought, damn. So anyway, they put it on him right. And he goes down. And I said, "Well, what happened then?" He said, "Well," I said, "Did you hear anything? And, when he hit the bottom?" He said, "Yeah, his neck just snapped like a carrot." That's what he said. So I guess he was pretty,
Why did you decide to make this one a cheery episode?
Actually, this one's about coaching. This book, it's kind of funny, but the reason I start off with that because one, it's a true story, and number two, I can relate to it with the coaching aspect because my next chapter is it's called Western Australia. It's called Down Under and to Your Left. So it's actually about me starting back in coaching before I go with San Diego in the spring. So I'm in Perth, Australia at that time, and I'm the coach in residence. And I always felt like when I was going to Australia that I was always around a bunch of criminals anyway, and I told them that, having fun with them. I said, it reminded me of the hangman thing. So, I related to that, and I could always tell that story.
I have a quick story for you, Mark, about Australia and criminality.
Oh, wow.
Australia was founded by criminals, and at this point in history, have the lowest crime rate in the world.
I believe it.
The United States was founded basically by missionaries, by law-abiding folks, and they have the highest crime rate in the world at this time in history. So, go figure.
Yeah, there's a lot to that because the one thing about Australia, they don't have 21 million people in the whole country yet. We got 320 at the time, but it's different management. But I'll tell you one thing: if they get shorted on water over there, they're going to have some real problems because if they got 35 million people in that country, they're going to have some big fights, and that's for darn sure. All the cities are around the
water shortage.
Sorry. Well, you know what? They're doing desalination right now over there. And I was over there 4 years. And so I was 2 years in Perth, and I talk about that. And then I was 2 years in Brisbane. And so I got to hunt with the Aboriginals over there. And I got to see some pretty darn good ball players, actually. So, that's all in my book, which was funny. And I got to meet, Steve Irwin before he got big, actually, the Crocodile Man. And I thought that was pretty cool. He thought I was nuts too, I guess.
Speaking of cool, I happened to see on the internet a commercial you did for Nutty Buddy.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes.
Tell us. Some folks are hearing you for the first time. What's going on with that? I know that this has been something that you perfected 5-6 years ago. And how did you hook up with these people that put the commercial together? That was pretty cool.
The commercial is done. We did that through Nutty Buddy, and we hired our own people to do it. So Nutty Buddy is a protective cup, 5 sizes, hammer, boss, hog, trophy, mongo. The other thing is, so I did basically what we call the CEO challenge, where I have a black blazer on, I have a black T-shirt that has Nutty Buddy in gray in it, and then you see me from behind the desk, and I'm talking and speaking about, Nutty Buddy, And then I'm also talking about Chambliss's home run, so they show part of that. And then we come back and I'm, explaining the challenge in the classroom, and then I'm out in the cage, basically lined up for the shot. And so it turned out to be a real good commercial. There's another one in there too. It's about me beating on my buddy's, got all 5 sizes right there, and he's beating his drumsticks on those to a beat, and I'm going along with him with my cups and going along with the same beat, and we end up on the same note. So it worked out pretty well.
That part was very cool. What was really cool is that you believe in the product enough to take a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right to the gonads, connected, of course, by the Nutty Buddy.
Well, it was interesting, because that wasn't the very first time I had done that. That was on Fox Sports Science, that particular one. And then the very first one I did as a tester, because there had been a camera crew following us for all year. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, you want to see me take a shot in the nuts from a machine? I said, on camera? He said, yeah, I'll do that for you. So the guy ended up editing it for me, and the first one came out, and it turned out pretty good too. There's a whole package of those things on YouTube, which if you go to YouTube Nutty Buddy videos, you can pull them all up. And even the one I wrote on the bull 4 years ago almost killed me. And
okay,
I did a bull ride.
That's one thing, riding a bull. Let me ask you this, man to man, because as men, we are pretty concerned about the boys 24/7. I mean, and you had this great idea, and when the test time came, first time, when you took it, took the shot, was there trepidation preceding the actual shot? Whether or not you probably took the macho thing, like I'm going to go through it, and you knew you were on camera, but in the back of your mind, did the bell go off and say, "Uh-oh, did I get over my skis?"
Here's the one thing, Ralph. That's a really good question, because I didn't think of that at all on the ball hitting me right there like I did at 90 miles an hour, and it hit me straight on. And because my product, I've actually won 5 awards with that cup. I'm the only company that's ever done that. But the funny thing is, I knew that it probably would work, and I didn't even think about that because I said, okay, here we go, let's go, and I expected it to work, which it did. Now, the one that I'm talking about was the bull ride, which was kind of interesting for a split second when that guy just said, nod your head and he'll open the gate. Now, that's the one where I thought, am I really doing the right thing here? Because what happened was that bull named Playboy cracked my pubic bone. It threw me down so hard. So I couldn't hardly move. It was amazing.
You were not wearing Nutty Buddy at that time.
Oh, no, I was wearing Nutty Buddy because that was a Nutty Buddy commercial. Because bull riders wear my cup. See, my stuff's not baseball, basically. It is baseball, but it's about 5th on the list. Mixed martial arts is the top. Cricket is twice the size of baseball. And then you have hockey, lacrosse, and then you have so many fill in the blanks. Then you have baseball.
So do you have NFL guy or NFL or HL guys?
NHL we do, but not NFL. NFL, they don't wear cups mainly, but we do have some NFL guys that do wear them, the ones that do, because you can move in mine. We have a flex cup. It's pretty cool and really cool, actually. But hockey is interesting, too, because they like it. Good. Sorry.
I thought it was just baseball. I stand educated.
Oh, no. Lacrosse is really big because lacrosse, they like the cup because, and there's been a lot of studies done on my cup especially even with military, because we have one for military, and we don't broadcast that. But I'm just saying, there's one we have with Israel for military. So, I mean, I've dealt with Israel. They're pretty cool. So it's been amazing. I'll say a lot amazing. They found me.
So you're international, and you transcend sports. First of all, you transcend baseball. Secondly, you transcend sports, and you transcend our country. That's very, very cool, Mark. What a nice legacy.
I think it's all about procreation anyway.
You have a legacy with or without Nutty Buddy. Closer to Major League Baseball teams. Very successful. And more than that, you made a difference in a lot of people's careers through your post-playing career coaching. And it isn't just professionals that you made a difference with. You had and continue to have an array of folks coming to you, amateur folks coming to you with the hopes, parents of kids, with the hopes of having you groom their kid to be a major leaguer. Let me ask you what the process is there. When you meet with a parent and you're interviewing a child.
Well, the one thing is I do meet with the parent and sometimes even grandparents a lot too. A single mom, single moms are really out there lost in a sense, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
They're fun. Mark and I have always agreed on that. Single moms.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. And
terrible.
They're looking for a father figure, and they're wondering who can help me here, and who's going to try to do this the right way. And every kid's different, and every kid's personality is different, just like his makeup, and the same thing for his physical makeup, as far as looking at him with their tools. And it's such a slim margin as far as who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. Yeah, I did have some amateur teams. I have college teams. And, some of the college players might do that. And I was lucky one year. My wife was even saying to me, she said, you were so lucky when you had those 3 kids sign that 1 year out of college, that I had worked, I mean, it is a combination of other coaches, don't get me wrong. But I felt like I had a little bit of interest in these kids and helping them. And, but, I think it's not one person who does it. It's many, by the way. And, we're trying to make that person walk that line right, when you go and know the right lingo and know the right language and know how to put on what when you need to put on what's going on out there
and
between the lines.
You've got the professional experience, whereas these kids are used to amateur coaching. What's the main difference between that amateur and professional coaching?
We can repeat ourselves a lot more frequently, in other words. So, I mean, the amateur is going to make mistake, work this mistake, whereas we've done certain things so much that we don't make those mistakes near as much, and we're capable of fitting on to a field with full-grown men to play the game. And, these are men. And, they're at the top of their game. And, so when you're at the top of your game, it's pretty tight out there to sit out there and, be a team member. And I think one of the worst things, I always operated out of fear of failure. I didn't want to fail my teammates. And, there's fear, and then there's fear of success as well. I never had that problem. And then that's the kind of player you don't want. But I always had fear of failure with my teammates.
Who's afraid of success? Am I correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, sometimes they back off, and they're almost kind of like, they're kind of going through the motions when there's more there,
that's not just in baseball. That's in business and in relationships and everything. That's a kind of a negative mindset that we as humans have thrust upon us by other imperfect humans with no experience for doing that and putting bad stuff in your head. That
boy, yeah.
And it's what yogis say. It's 90% mental, 50% physical, or something like that. And
he said something like that.
But yeah, it absolutely changes things if your mind is set in the proper mode. How does a professional player? You mentioned an expression just a minute ago. Top of your game. Let's face it, Mark. Big league ball player, you're at the top of your game. And one day, you're not a big league ball player. What's the adjustment like?
It's kind of tough, you know. I don't know if you really ever prepare for it. I don't know if that you ever explain, well, how am I going to go out of the game? And most don't go out on a good note. Most don't get to retire on their own. And there's questions, about what they want to do or if they've even thought about that. And then there's a lot of depression right there, to tell you the truth, for a lot of players. And, they don't know because, they had seen a limelight right there of between the lines and, the fan and the camaraderie with the players. That's the biggest thing, too, I think the players miss is camaraderie. Of being
How did the end come for you as a big leaguer?
I was in Chicago, and Whitey, he didn't release me because I was under contract still because I had some arm issues, and I knew I was basically done. And Whitey, and I thanked him, because it was right after batting practice. He called me into the room, and I actually expected it. I was actually calling it on that day too. So, but I knew I could.
I imagine that was as hard a job for Whitey as he's ever had.
Well, he and I got along really well, and
for a lot of years.
Yeah, and that's just the way it was, and and I just told him I appreciated everything he did for me, and I felt he might have kept me around a little bit longer than Norm, but it was pretty interesting, and I stayed with it, and I always tried to be the fun guy on the bench, and no negative crap, there's no negative crap on the bench, but he wanted a chemistry, and I was part of that for a little while, so I was glad to be part of that because he knew who he wanted, he knew what needed to be done. He didn't have the greatest players all the time. He had some damn good ones, let's put it that way, but he made it work.
Through to Darryl Porter with Kansas City. He is really underrated as a ball player when we look back on that era, even when he was playing, even when he was active. Very underrated. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, he sure was.
Well, he was a good catcher.
Well, Darryl and I played together with each other in Kansas City, and then St. Louis as well. And he had that the problem, the drug problem, and of course everybody knew that. And Darryl and I used to go fishing quite a bit. I'd tell him to shut up while we fished. He'd always keep talking.
Maybe that's part of the nose experience.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. He sat there and smoked his cig. I said, keep smoking those cigs.
One becomes chatty. But
thank you. That was good.
What can I tell you? I'm only human. I see things and I become chatty myself every now and again. But you live through it. Pretty soon you're going to Chatty Anonymous. Did I tell you, Mark, and this is a true story, at one time I kind of abused weed, and I tried to go to Marijuana's Anonymous, and I was so high, I ended up at Marathoners Anonymous. It was a 12-step program. It wasn't a 12-step program. It was a 12,000-step program.
Holy cow.
And I'm chasing and running and chasing guys looking for a light. It was one of the experiences in my life that I just had to tell you, Mark.
Well, you know what? Everybody I know has tried it, but the thing about it is, I mean, there's issues with anything because I have so many friends. I mean, knock on wood, I've been lucky, but that have, just had issues. I've had families nowadays.
My issue is telling silly jokes.
Crazy. With my families even, good grief. That's even deeper. It goes a while. So.
It happens. But by the same token, we're talking about Darryl. He showed his humanity, but he was still one hell of a catcher.
Oh, gosh. Without a doubt. He could hit.
Yeah.
I mean, he could hit, and when he hit a ball, he hit it hard. He was a line drive type guy. I mean, he'd poke one once in a while, but he was a line drive guy, and he would take a vicious cut at a ball. Really would. He didn't get cheated.
Well, tell me about your hitting. Were you at that time, especially with St. Louis? You never had a DH. I know the DH was coming in when you were at Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken, when you were at Kansas City. But so you got some batting time in the big leagues. What was that about?
Well, the funny thing about Kansas City, I was the first Kansas City pitcher to hit under the DH rule. And he said to me one night, we were like in the ninth inning, and he wanted me to end up staying in there. We had a couple guys hurt, and he said, Airhead. He called me Airhead. He said, Air. When's the last time you hit? And I said, A-ball. He said, you're up third. I said, no shit. So, anyway, and then I go over to the National League, and, we could bunt from any different angle you want. And, so when I was over at the National, Lou was the bunting coach for one day, Lou Brock. He said, I want to have you the pitcher's bunting coach. Lou didn't say hardly anything. And he'd mumble. He'd say, I want to be the pitcher's bunting coach. And Hal Lanier said, okay. So Lou said this, and then Hal said, okay, Lou, I got it from here on. So anyway, we could bunt. Well, here's the funny thing about my National League hitting experience was, yes, I hit a few times, but I might be the only player, and this is in my book, I have 3 RBIs and 2 hits in my career. And they were all against the Phillies. In back-to-back games, actually. So, pretty funny.
3.
Yeah. And one of those was against Tug McGraw. He walked me in with the bases loaded. He walked me with the bases loaded. Yeah,
every name you bring up brings a story. You brought up Hal Lanier. His dad, Maxie Lanier, was one of the Mexican jumping beans. Did you know about that story?
No, I do not.
Well, in the late 40s, the Mexican League was rating Major League Baseball for players.
Huh.
And several players, Sal Maglie was one, and Max Lanier, Hal's dad, was another.
Uh-huh.
And they went to Mexico, and especially with Hal Lanier, with especially with Sal Maglie, he really learned his craft down in Mexico. And he comes back. First of all, the players were banned. Anybody who signed with Mexico, with the Mexican League, which went under, were banned. Right. They had to wait and really go hat in hand to the major leagues to get back into baseball. But Max Lanier, Hal's dad, who Hal himself was a pretty good infielder with the Giants. I'm out here watching Giants I grew up with in New York are playing in San Francisco, and I'm living in the Northern California area. It was pretty cool to watch Hal Lanier. I had this baseball history in my head since I'm 5 years old. So to watch the son of Max Lanier, who was a St. Louis Cardinal pitcher, if I'm not mistaken. And what was he like as a manager, Hal?
Well, I didn't have him as a manager. He was actually he was the third base coach at the time.
Oh, okay.
And and then actually the coach was Vern Rapp first, and then he didn't like. When I got over there, he lasted 17 games, and then you had Kenny Boyer, and then Kenny lasted whatever, and then Whitey came along, and so it was a match.
Now Kenny was from your neck of the woods in Missouri.
Yeah. Well, he's from Missouri, but he was from a little town called Ava, Missouri, and it's on the other side of the state. But I was more of a flatlander. He was more of a hillbilly type.
And he comes from a family like 9 brothers who played professional ball, 3 of whom played in the bigs. One of whom, Cleet, of course, Kenny. There was a third who was a pitcher.
Claude. Well, there was Claude, the third baseman, wasn't he? Claude, not Claude. Well, Claude was a pitcher, and then you had the one that played third base.
Cleet played with the Yankees.
Cleet. Right. And then Claude. Claude was the pitcher. You're right. Mm-hmm.
Did you know Claude? I don't know much about him. What was he? Where did you meet him, and what was he about?
Claude's older than Kenny, and Claude's kind of reserved like Kenny. He'll talk and everything, but he's a little bit reserved. He and I spoke, pretty even on a keel because we're both rednecks. So that was kind of okay. So
now let me ask you this, because
a little bit in common.
I have an idea that if Santo should be in the Hall of Fame, and that's questionable either way, Boyer should be in the Hall of Fame. I thought Boyer, in the time that he played in his prime, he was the second best third baseman in the National League to Eddie Matthews. And the third best was Ron Santo of the Cubs. And how he got in, I know a lot of it was he passed away. He had a lot of sympathy for him. He suffered from diabetes, lost a leg, was the announcer of the Cubs. But if he's in, Ken Boyer should be in. Do you agree with me?
That's a tough one. I love Kenny as a player because I used to watch him too, and I saw him win some MVPs in third base. I don't believe he's a Hall of Famer, to tell you the truth, because I just can't. I think he comes up just a little bit short. I just do. And then, from what I've seen, of course, you had Joe Torre, but I don't know if Joe Torre's area was third base either, but when you had
catcher, he started as a catcher and spent most of his career as a catcher. But would you say then Santo should have come up short?
He might have come up short as well to me, because I knew him as a solid player, but not one that just jumped out at you,
Right.
And he just
exactly
didn't jump.
How I felt, much like Veda Pinson, and
thank you. Right.
There's a bunch of guys like that. I don't believe Red Shandings, one of my favorite player, really as a player doesn't fall into that category as well.
I didn't even know. I've never really looked at Red's statistics. I always thought him as a manager, to tell you the truth. My mom always said, oh, he was a really good ball player. So, but I never really looked at his statistics. I played with Veda Pinson a little bit in Kansas City, actually. What a great guy he was. And used to watch him when he was with Cincinnati quite a bit. But,
we have a mutual friend, Veda Pinson Jr. on Facebook.
Yes.
And,
Yes. And
I'm
then,
trying
of course, Teddy. Teddy's not on that list either, is he? Simmons. He's not back on that list, is he? I don't think so.
Who's that?
Simmons. Ted Simmons. He's on a different list or something. He missed it by a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Simmons was very solid. Boone was really solid. There's a bunch of solid people, but the Hall of Fame. I think if you have to ask whether or not a guy should be in the Hall of Fame, he shouldn't. If you think about it, so, you didn't have to ask about Aaron or Mays or Mantle or any of the others.
Those are big. Those are standouts. I mean, Hall of Famers got to stand out. Really stand out.
Right. Exactly. That should be the judge. If you look at a guy who retires, you say that 5 years in for sure. There's no debating it.
I had a guy, a scout, tell me. I got to tell you, I had a scout tell me this one time. He said, "How do you know if you got a prospect, Mark?" And he says, "I don't know. How do you rate it?" He was a Yankees scout. He ended up being in Milwaukee. He was a big scout for the Yankees. And so I said, "I don't know. How do you think? How do you do that?" He says, "Well, I see hundreds of ball players every year, and I go, okay. And then you finally come in and you walk in and you say, 'Holy shit!' So there you go, right there. Sign him. It's kind of like a Hall of Famer. You go, 'Holy shit!'
Forget about analytics. The magic phrase is the holy shit method.
Yeah, really, it's true. Yeah, that's about right.
What's the name of that scout so we could remember him for that?
Oh my gosh, I wish a matter of fact, I'll get it for you next time. Yeah,
all right,
I should know it, but he's just a great guy. He was so funny. We were talking about it, and he said, "Hey, Mark, you go, 'Holy shit!'" And I said, "Yeah, it's all right." So you don't see very many prospects or Hall of Famers.
You don't see the one, and again, the ones that stand out. The guy. When I said "holy shit," I saw Bo Jackson go up a wall.
Right.
Now,
yes,
that's a holy shit moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it wasn't a time after time after time, moment.
Right. Hey,
No.
Mark, we're coming to an end. Great show. Love chatting ball with you.
Yeah, it's fun, Ralph. It always is.
All right.
Keep her up.
Let's keep it up.
Keep her going.
Stay healthy. I know you have another procedure in your recuperation coming up.
Yep.
When is that scheduled?
That one's going to be December 19th in St. Louis, Missouri. So, fun times.
Well, let's send some good vibes out there to Mark Littell, December 19th in St. Louis, Missouri. If you got to be in the South, you might as well get some good treatment. That's how I look at it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's
the
dandy.
Beetle country.
Little South, if that's the Memphis South. St. Louis to us is the North.
I know.
They're the Yankee side.
I understand. And brothers fought against brothers in the Civil War from Missouri. Am I correct about that?
Exactly. You are right. Well, heck, I think from about every state almost, it seemed like. Except the Southern, the real true Southern ones, except. So.
The real true Southern ones or the real true Northern ones?
Yes, exactly right.
Very few brothers from Boston fought against each other in the Civil War.
I doubt that. You got Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee. They would probably intermingle some, maybe.
Well, I don't want
to
spout stuff, so I'm going to look that one up, and you look up who that scout was. Next time
I will.
We'll be able to not die curious.
You betcha.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. It is the Mark Littell Show. Closing it out with the closer, Country Littell. I enjoy you, Mark. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk about Head Start when next you return. See ya. The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.